Hey guys, and welcome back to another Unreal Engine 4 tutorial. In today's video, I'm going to be going over how to create a way in which we can change the player's FOV on a slider, or any way you want really, but this is going to be in an options menu. You have a slider in which you can change the player's field of view, so that's obviously how zoomed in or zoomed out the player's camera is. So let's hit play and see what this is going to make today. So obviously I'm in first person as that's where it looks best, but you don't have to be. If I press P, it's going to open up my very basic pause menu. It's not even pausing the game, it's just displaying the field of view. But I do have other videos where I create a proper pause menu and a proper options menu if you want to see that. And we can slide this slider along to change the field of view, and you can see we have the number changing here, so the player knows what it is, and you can see in the background as well the field of view actually changing. So let's go all the way in, press P again to close it, and you'll see the field of view is all the way in. And if we were to take it all the way out, you'll see that that also works as well. And you'll see that it does keep that position there too. Now I have it between 50 and 130 with 90 as the default. You can obviously change this to be whatever values you like, but I found those are the best ones for me. Again, change these to be perfect for you just on the basic ones where I was creating earlier. These are what I found to be good. So this is what we're going over and creating today. So without further ado, let me delete this code and I'll show you how I've done it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the actual options menu in order to change the slider. Now, if you already have an options menu or a pause menu or wherever you want to put this, you can put that into there as well. But just in case you don't, I am going to be going over creating all that as well. So we're going to right click, go to user interface and create a widget blueprint. And I'm just going to name this one options menu, like so, opening it up straight away. Again, for me, this is going to be very basic. So all I'm going to do is drag in some text here, anchoring it to the center. And I'm also going to align it up to the center as well. So there's going to be good for me. And in the text, I'm going to write FOV :space 90. Then under justification, I'm going to set it to center, like so. Now we are going to actually change this so the number changes as well, depending on what the FOV actually is. But I'm just writing 90 in there just as a reference so I can see how it's going to be positioned on screen. So that is going to be good for me. I don't need to change anything else on here just yet. Then I'm going to add in my slider, which is also going to be anchored to the middle of the screen. And I'm actually going to put it in the dead center of the screen as well. Just extending this out a little bit bigger too. I think that is going to be good for me. Again, I'm making this look very basic. You can obviously change this to make it look a lot better for you, which I imagine you probably will if it's on like a proper options menu too. But this is the base look I'm going for. So what I'm going to do now is select the slider and we can change the values here. So the value is going to be the default value it is when it loads up. For me, that's going to be 90, as that is what the default field of view is as well. So if you've changed your default field of view, change this value as well, but obviously it will fix itself later. It's just mainly to make it look better. And the minimum value is the lowest the slider will go to, so that's this slider value on the left hand side here. Again, for me, I want this to be 50. Then the maximum value is a value all the way on the right, so it's the biggest it can be. So that's for me 130. So obviously the minimum value 50, that's how zoomed in it can be. The maximum value 130 is how zoomed out it can be, and the value here is just the default value it is currently at, which is 90. As you can see for me, that is in the dead center. That's how I've got the values of 50 and 130. I've just taken away 40 and added on 40. But obviously, again, change this to be whatever you like. It might just take changing the values and experimenting with it to see what it looks like for you. Then if we scroll all the way down, still with the slider selected, we can get these events here, and we want the on value changed event. So every single time we change the value of the slider, it's going to actually update the field of view so the player can see it in real time, if that's how you set it up as well, but basically it's going to update the player's field of view. So what we also need is a reference to our character in order to be able to change this. So I'm going to delete event tick and event pre-construct and just use event construct here. Outfit, I'm going to cast to my character, which is the third person character, but for you it could be third, first, or whatever you've named it. The object is obviously going to be get player character, like so, and as third person character, we're going to right click, promote it to variable, naming this character reference. And this is just so we can easily and efficiently access the player blueprint. So we'll compile and save that. Then back under the on value changed event, we're going to drag in our character reference. Out of this, we're going to set the field of view, and it should come out of the follow camera or whatever the name for the camera is which you're using. So my camera is named follow camera. Again, it might be different for you. Then we're going to connect this into the on value changed event with the value going into the in field of view. So again, whatever we change the value to is going to change the actual field of view as well, because again, it's going between the values of 50 and 130, which are the values we want to set our field of view between. So that is going to work perfectly. So we can compile and save that. What we also need to do in the event graph here is change some code from when we first load up the slider. So at the moment, what will happen is when we load up the slider, the value will be set to 90. We obviously don't want that because if we change the value to 120, next time we open the menu up, if we want to change it again, we want it to still be at 120. Everything will still work as it is now, but it just won't look as good until you start to move it and it will update. So what we're going to do is just set it to the current value when we load it up. So what we're going to do is get our slider and we're going to set the value. To again set the value when we load it up off of event construct. So we're going to connect that into there like so. And to get the current value, that's very simple. We can come out of the character reference and get your camera, which for me is the follow camera. But again, just get whatever it is named for you. And out of your camera, you're going to get field of view and just connect that into the in value there. So we're essentially doing the opposite of what we just did earlier. What we did here was the value of the slider set the field of view, but when we load up the slider, the actual field of view is going to set the slider. So I hope that makes sense. Again, that's just an aesthetic thing, but it makes it look a lot better and a lot more professional. So we'll compile and save that, and that is all that done really. That is actually now going to change our field of view and the slider is working perfectly. But what I also want to do is have it come up in text here so the player knows what the current field of view is, because maybe they're sharing their options with their mates and they want to know what the value is for them as well. So what we can do is select the text here, and then we're going to go next to text, hit bind, and we're going to create binding. What we're also going to do is out of the return value of the return node, we want to get a format text. And this is so we can actually input the value into a sentence. So as you saw, we have FOV 90, we only want to change the 90. So what we can do is in the format, we can write the sentence we want, which for me is FOV : space. And here I want to input a changing value. So I'm going to do the open brackets with a little squiggle on it, write FOV, then close brackets. Now if we hit enter, you'll see we have the option for FOV for the field of view here, because that is what I've written in the brackets. So now whatever we input into this value here is going to change and be inputted into the sentence. So our changing field of view will change so the player can see what the value actually is. So to get it, we're just going to do the same thing we did earlier. Get the character reference, get your camera, which for me is the follow camera, all the way down at the bottom here, and then out of this, get field of view, connecting that into FOV like so. And actually what I'm also going to do, is come out of field of view, and I'm going to round this off as well. Because at the moment, what this will do is it will be 30, 30.1, 30.2, and I don't want that. I just want it as the whole number, i.e. 30, 31, 32, not all the values in between. So we can just round it to a whole number, which will look a lot better. So let's compile, save, and close that. That is all we need to do for changing the field of view. What we're also going to do now is create the basic options menu to come up and off of screen. So if you've already got that set up, perfect, you can skip over this part, but just in case you don't, I'm going to show you how to create it. It's also very basic. So I'm going to do this in my character blueprint, which for me is content, third person BP, blueprints, third person character. In here, I'm just going to right click and get the P keyword event, as that is the button I want to use for pausing the game really, even though it's not pausing, but it's the basic idea of it. And you can also use an action mapping as well if you wanted to, but I'm not going to. Above this as well, I'm going to hold down P, left click to get event begin play. Now if you've already used event begin play, just go to it and then you can hold down S, left click to get a sequence, with then 0 going to the code you have now, and then 1 going to the code we're about to create. But I haven't used it yet, so I don't need to do that. Off of event begin play, we're going to create a widget, with the class being the options menu we've just set up now, or one which you've already created. The return value, we're going to right click, promote to variable, naming this one menu reference or options reference, whatever you like, and we're going to compile save that. And that's again so we now have a reference to it, so we can put it on screen and take it off screen whenever we like, very efficiently. Back to our P keyword event here for when we actually want to put it on and off screen. Out of pressed, we're going to get a flip flop, and this is just going to toggle between values of A and B, so we can press it to take it on and press it to take it off. A, we want to add it on screen, so we're going to get our menu reference and add to viewport, and that is going to add it onto the player's screen so they can now see it. And B, we want to remove from parent, and that's going to take it off of the screen. So that should now work perfectly for putting on and off the menu screen onto the player's screen. I'm just going to move this back a little bit, maybe down and up like that. And after this, we also want to give the player proper control to be able to use this properly. So we're going to right click and get the player controller, like so. and out of the return value, we're going to set the input mode. And for when the widget comes on screen, we want to do game and UI. And that's so the UI, we can control the slider, and game, so we can press P to again close the widget. That is going to go into the add to viewport, with the player controller obviously being get player controller, and the in widget to focus is going to be our menu reference there. So we are focusing on the widget we've currently put on screen so we can use the slider properly. We don't want to hide the cursor during capture, and then we also want to make sure that we are showing it. So come out of the return value again of the get player controller and set show mouse cursor, connecting into there, and we're just going to tick it so we can see the mouse cursor. Then for taking off screen again, get player controller is going to be simply set input mode game only, and then also we want to stop showing the mouse cursor. So set show mouse cursor, and we're going to leave it as false, so unticked. Compile, save, and that is the basic code done for putting the widget on and off screen as well. So when we press P the first time, it will add it to the screen, show the mouse cursor, and give us control of the widget. When we take it off screen, so press P again, it's going to remove it, give us back control of just the game, and hide the mouse cursor. So let's close this and hit play to test it out. If we were to hit P, you can see we have the FOV of 90. We can drag this along, and it's going to be decreasing and zooming in, and the value actually changes as well when we change the slider. And if we to increase it, you'll see the field of view is going more zoomed out. And if we to press P to close it, press P to open it again, the field of view has stayed the same. So this works perfectly. So I think that'll be it for this video, as we've done everything we want to do. We've changed it so we can zoom in and out the field of view, changing it perfectly like so, with a little pause menu as well, or an options menu really, where we can change the field of view on a slider, zooming in and out, and it all works perfectly with a value reading what the current field of view is as well. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and hope you found it helpful. And if you did, make sure to like and subscribe down below. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.